Now, when I was working as a network engineer, one of the things I often saw was, you get a call at the help desk, and a user would be calling in saying, hey, your network's slow. People are having difficulty, getting to my SQL server. And they may not provide a whole lot of information. So one of the things I can do is I can come to this Compass overview, basically take a look at the capture that's in about the time frame when they had the problem or with current problems happening while it's live, and then I would select my SQL protocol or application, and I can see first glance that I'm not having a problem with the application itself overwhelming the network. It's very little utilization. So what I want to do is click on this and check out my two-way latency to see what the delays are looking like. Now I currently have my overall network average mixed in here, so I want to focus in a little better on just the SQL. So I'm going to open up my legend, turn off my overall average network so I can see just the SQL traffic. And as you can see in purple, it's very clear that the application has much more latency than the network does. Now the nice thing is I can right-click in this upper section and follow that workflow where I'm going to focus in on that data. So I'm not looking at the overall 253,000 packets, but I'm going to select the related, copy them to a new window, and that way I just have the 7,000 or so. So that opens up that new tab. I'm going to follow my best practices here and rename that so I know I'm dealing with MS SQL traffic. And you can see, oops, hopefully you don't typo as much as I do. You can see in the application column that we are just focused on that. I could do some investigation here, but I don't need to really because I can rely on my expert flows. And once again, I want to see my event summaries, and right there it jumps right out at me that I have my slow server response time. And then it does select those conversations. I could pick out one that I know is involved, and then I could go to my flow visualizer with that simple right click. And in doing so, you notice the view stays at what I had looked at last, but I want to take a look at my packets. I'm going to look for that expert event, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down, and here I see I have my slow server response time event. Now the nice part is I can see at packet 728, I'm sending my SYN packet. And then immediately, less than a tenth of a second, I'm getting back my acknowledgement packet. That tells me that it's not the network that's at fault. The network card on the server is responding very quickly. But it takes over a full second for me to get data back. Now, it's one thing to be able to point back to the caller and say, hey, it's not my fault. My tool says and proves it's not the network. I find it to be much more helpful to be able to go in and give them something constructive to work with. So I'm going to note that between packet 728 and 808 is where my problem lies. So I'm going to look at my payload, and once again, as long as it's not encrypted, I can see that back and forth. When I hover over one of these, it tells me what packet number I'm at. I'm at 608 here, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and there's packet 728. I'm going to select that by triple clicking, and I can go in and actually copy that out and then send it to the requester, suggesting that they take this query back to their SQL Server admin and have them run this query locally on the system so he can see that it slows down there. And that may help him out in knowing that maybe he needs to re-index his database or whatever other corrective action. The other thing I can do is I can come in here and make a note of what I did. And have all the details there. And when I save that, I now have a note in my related capture, which thanks to the trail I'm keeping, I know it's that one right there. I can go to my notes, and instead of having to save out the 253,000 packets, I can save out just this by going File, Save All Packets, and put it wherever I want and give it whatever name is helpful, SQL slowdown help. And then that way, I've got a record of that could be attached to a help desk ticket, and that way it's a much smaller piece of record. When I reopen it, I can come right back to my notes. I can tell it to go to the packet that's involved with that problem, and then I can go ahead and do my right click, select the related flow, and there I go. I'm right back to where I discovered and analyzed the problem. So this is one of the good things that can give you a good record of that.